A lockdown is supposed to last 10 minutes, a drill, a precaution, a practiced routine. But some lockdowns don't end that way. Some end with students who can't speak about what they saw. Some end with unanswered questions. And some don't end at all. These are 3 real accounts, submitted by real people. The names have been changed. Everything else is exactly as it happened. The first story, the man in the hallway wasn't one of our teachers. We thought the man following us was just a hall monitor. Then our teacher looked at his face and went completely pale. This happened during my junior year of high school somewhere in the Midwest. It was the kind of school where nothing interesting ever happened. Small town, everyone knew everyone. Which is exactly why what happened that day still doesn't make sense to me. It was 5th period. I was with my best friend Ryan. We both knew there was a scheduled lockdown drill coming. They always warned us the day before, so nobody would panic. But Ryan and I had made a stupid decision. We were going to skip 5th period and hang out near the back hallway by the old gym until it was over. We slipped out between classes, no teachers, no hall monitors, just the 2 of us walking through an empty corridor. Then the announcement came over the intercom. Lockdown drill in progress. All students report to class immediately. Ryan and I looked at each other. We were far from any classroom and even further from the exits. We decided to just duck into the nearest bathroom and wait it out. Standard plan. We started walking toward it. That's when I heard something behind us. Footsteps. Not fast, not slow, just steady, keeping pace with us. I assumed it was a hall monitor and told Ryan not to turn around. We kept walking. The footsteps kept coming. I remember thinking it was strange that the hall monitor wasn't calling out to us. They always called out to us. They never just silently followed. We turned a corner. The footsteps turned with us. Ryan finally looked back. He grabbed my arm so hard he left a bruise. "That's not a hall monitor," he said. I turned. The hallway behind us was empty, but at the far end, maybe 60 feet back, there was a man standing completely still in the shadows near the lockers, just standing there, watching us, not moving, not speaking. He was wearing what looked like a dark jacket. He had no lanyard, no badge, no clipboard, nothing that said he worked at that school. We walked faster. The footsteps started again. We rounded another corner and almost collided directly with Mr. Herbert, our history teacher, who was doing a hallway check. He looked at us, confused, and asked why we weren't in class. We started telling him about the man behind us talking over each other. Mr. Herbert frowned. He said he hadn't seen anyone else in this corridor all morning. He walked us back to look. The hallway was completely empty. We got sent to the office. The lockdown lifted about 45 minutes later, way longer than any scheduled drill. When I finally got home, I asked my dad to call the school. They wouldn't tell us anything. They said the lockdown had been extended due to a precautionary situation on school grounds. I've asked around. 3 other students that day reported seeing a man in the corridors they didn't recognize. None of them matched the same description. None of it was ever explained to us. I'm 24 now. I still think about the moment Ryan grabbed my arm. I still think about how those footsteps stopped the exact second we turned the corner. And I still have no answer for what was in that hallway with us. The second story. We were hiding in the dark when someone tried our door handle. The lights were off. 23 of us were on the floor in total silence. Then the door handle moved. I was 13 years old, 8th grade. It was a Tuesday in October, the kind of day that starts completely normal and ends with you understanding for the first time that the world is not as safe as you thought it was. 2nd period. Mrs. Calloway's English class. We were doing a reading exercise when the intercom clicked on. The voice that came out was not the usual calm announcement voice. It was rushed, clipped, like whoever was speaking was trying to hold something back. "All staff, this is a code red. This is not a drill. Lock your doors immediately. Code red. I had heard those words in training. They had explained to us exactly what they meant. But hearing them said out loud, in a real voice, in the middle of a Tuesday morning, nothing prepares you for that. Mrs. Calloway moved so fast. Lights off, door locked. She pulled the paper over the window and the door. She hissed at us to get down and get to the back wall, away from the windows. 23 eighth graders pressed against the back wall of a classroom in total darkness. Somebody was crying. Nobody told them to stop. For the first 20 minutes, nothing. Just silence and the sound of our own breathing. A few kids were texting their parents under their shirts so the light wouldn't show. My hands were shaking too much to type. Then we heard it. Footsteps in the hallway, slow ones, moving door to door. And then, our handle moved. One slow turn, then another, testing it. Whoever was out there knew we were inside. They just wanted to know if the door was locked. Nobody breathed. Mrs. Calloway had her back flat against the wall beside the door. Her eyes were closed. Her lips were moving. I think she was praying. The handle stopped. The footsteps moved on. I don't know how long we sat there after that. Time doesn't work the same way when you're that scared. It felt like hours. It might have been 20 minutes. It might have been 2. Then the intercom clicked again. A different voice this time. Police dispatch, confirming the building was clear, instructing staff to remain in place until officers came to each room individually. When the officer knocked on our door and said it was safe to open, Mrs. Calloway slid down the wall and sat on the floor for a full minute before she could stand up. We found out later that an armed individual had been reported near the school perimeter. He was apprehended 2 blocks away before he ever made it inside. Officially, no one got in. Officially, we were never in real danger. But I still hear that door handle sometimes, late at night when it's quiet. That slow, deliberate turn, testing, waiting. Whoever was outside that door that morning, they knew exactly what they were doing. The third story, my teacher told us to run, then she stayed behind. She unlocked the back door and told us to run as fast as we could. We asked her if she was coming with us. She didn't answer. I've never told this story publicly before. My therapist suggested I try. So here it is. I was a sophomore, Pacific Northwest. It was March, still cold, still gray, the kind of weather that makes everything feel heavier than it should. I was in Ms. Reardon's AP biology class, 4th period. She was the kind of teacher that kids actually liked. Funny, direct, genuinely interested in whether you understood the material or not. The lockdown announcement came about 25 minutes into class. This time, there was no code red, no formal language. The intercom just cut on and we heard a voice, and then something in the background that I cannot describe to you accurately, except to say that it changed the temperature of the room immediately. Every single person in that classroom heard it and knew that this was not a drill. Ms. Reardon locked the front door in under 3 seconds. She turned off the lights. She looked at us, 21 students frozen in place, and her voice was absolutely steady when she spoke. Listen to me carefully. I need you to be very quiet and do exactly what I say. She walked to the back of the classroom. There was a second door, a door that I had never seen used in 2 years of being in that school. That led to an exterior path along the back of the building. A service path. She had a key. She unlocked it. She opened it 2 inches and looked out. Then she turned to us and said, "All of you are going to go out this door, turn left, and run to the tree line at the back of the property. Do not stop. Do not look back. Go to the neighborhood behind the school and knock on any door. Tell them to call 911. We started moving. I was near the back of the group. I grabbed my bag out of reflex. She told me to leave it. I left it. As I was stepping through the door, I looked back. Ms. Reardon was standing in the middle of the room, not moving. She had her phone to her ear. I asked her if she was coming. She looked at me, and I mean she really looked at me like she was making sure she could see my face, and she said, "You need to go right now." I went. 21 students ran through the trees and into the neighborhood. We knocked on the first door we found. A woman opened it and looked at our faces and immediately dialed 911 without asking a single question. It was 2.5 hours before we knew what had happened. There had been an individual on campus with a weapon. He had entered through a side corridor near the science wing, which was exactly where our classroom was. Police apprehended him before he reached any occupied rooms. Nobody was physically harmed. Ms. Reardon had stayed behind to barricade the classroom door with the furniture after we left, making it look occupied from the outside and buying time if the corridor was breached. She had called the front office with our location and coordinated with police on exactly which part of the building to focus on. She told us about this later, calmly, like it was just a decision she had made. Like it was obvious. I've thought about that moment in the doorway almost every single day since, the way she looked at me before I ran. I think she knew exactly what she was choosing. I think she knew there was a chance we were the last students she would ever send out that door. She chose it anyway. She's still teaching. Same school, same classroom. I visited her last year. When I walked in, she was standing at the front of the room explaining photosynthesis to a group of freshmen who had no idea who they were looking at. I don't think she'd want to be called a hero, but I don't know what else to call her. 3 schools. 3 moments that none of these people asked to live through. And 3 reminders that the most terrifying things that happen in this world don't come with a soundtrack. They come in silence. In an ordinary Tuesday. In a door handle that slowly turns in the dark. If these stories stayed with you, that's the point. They stayed with the people who lived them too. If you have a true story you've never told anyone, send it to us. The link is in the description. Your name will never be used without permission. Subscribe to Beyond the Map Stories. New video every week. And if you're watching this late at night, maybe don't. We'll see you in the next one.